Good afternoon, my name is Hola Atamanova, and it's my pleasure to see everybody who joins us in Ukraine Media Center Recurrent Forum. It's day 580 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian occupiers, and now we will be talking about the situation in Dnipropetrovsk region. Joining us online is Mykola Lukashuk, head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council. Good afternoon, Mr. Mykola. Good afternoon. Pleasure hearing you. The same here. Mr. Mykola, I would like to start with asking about the current situation in the region. We know that the occupier inflicted another strike on Kryvyi Rih. This night we know that the settlements closer to the front lines are being incessantly shelled. So what is the situation for the time being? Well, talking about this morning, during the air raid alert, the enemy attacked one of the industrial facilities in Kryvyi Rih this morning with a missile. We don't have the complete information for the time being, but the information is upcoming. The situation has not changed dramatically. Every day there are shellings of Nikopol or Markanets or other parts of Nikopol district, plus other communities that border on Zaporizhia and region. Those are closer to Zaporizhia region, Pokrovska community, because the distance to that area is about 180 kilometers. Mr. Mykola, let's talk about the preparation to the winter season. This is the burning topic right now. So what's going on? What's the situation with the critical infrastructure? Are you ready to launch? Well, let me comment on those utility companies that submit to the community government, the water supply distributors and big healthcare facilities. The situation is under control. All the facilities are ready. The current repairs and maintenance are about to end within a week or two. With the head of the military administration, we had a meeting with all the community governments, with the mayors, including the mayors of such cities as Dnipro and Kryvyi Rih. We got reports from the mayors about the preparation to the winter heating season. On top of that, there was a joint meeting with the Minister of Energy, Mr. Galushenko, where the military governor of the region was present. And we can say that Dnipropetrovsk region is ready for the winter heating season. Mr. Mykola, everybody says that this winter is going to be difficult, maybe even more difficult than the previous one. So to what extent are the healthcare facilities ready to the emergencies? Are all of them equipped with the generators and other equipment? Look, we approached this issue starting from the last winter. We remember on the 24th of November last year, there was almost a blackout. There were no limits for electric power supply, and now our cluster hospitals and top cluster hospitals are equipped with the generators to make sure that in case of blackout. We know that last week there were the first attacks on the western part of our country on its energy infrastructure facilities. So we had the meeting with the minister on that very day, and we understand that as soon as the cold weather comes, the enemy continues to inflict strikes on our critical energy infrastructure. But talking about the smaller communities, the hospitals, the educational facilities are all equipped with the generators. Obviously, if there is no power supply, big water distributors or heat distributors which supply water and heat to such big cities as Kryvyi Rih, they will be impossible to launch using the generators because a very intense capacity is needed to launch some of the pipes and other types of equipment. But talking about other facilities, critical infrastructure facilities, they are equipped with everything to confidently go through the heating season. Well, talking about the possible shellings and strikes in all the regions, now we talk about protecting our electric power distribution facilities against the strikes of the Russians. So were you able to secure such protection for energy infrastructure facilities in Dnipropetrovsk region? Well, we understand that Dnipropetrovsk region is the region near the front lines in the country, and just like no one other, we understand that the missile may be incoming without 7 to 10 minutes, depending on the location of its launch site. So all the measures, all the relevant measures are being taken. I cannot comment a lot on that. Let our military provide more comments, because we understand that the enemy studies any videos that we post on behalf of our military administration, our local governments, to understand what we prepare for, and they try to find the information or some sensitive information about our energy infrastructure facilities. So let me abstain from more comments on this issue. Mr. Mykola, I cannot help but asking about the reconstruction. We understand that in the Dnipropetrovsk region the enemy caused a lot of damage and destruction. So has this process already started? I mean, the reconstruction of the residential buildings, apartment blocks, private houses. Well, the most of destruction falls on Nikopol district, Nikopol and Marhanets. The ministry identified this area as the area of battle operations, and there are some security issues in that area. And talking about the reconstruction, is first of all the reconstruction of the critical infrastructure facilities to make sure there is the power supply in all the communities. The Cabinet of Ministers has allocated the funds to build 2 waterways over there, so both Nikopol and Kryvyi Rih are currently supplied with water, maybe not to the full extent, but I'm sure by the end of October they will be provided to the full extent. Talking about the residential infrastructure, there is no currently reconstruction because the shellings are going on 24/7, and any works on the reconstruction works are just irrelevant before the deoccupation of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, from where the shellings are being launched. So reconstruction is just unfeasible of any residential buildings. Talking about Kryvyi Rih district and Dnipro district, well, some works are underway there, but talking about the reconstruction of our infrastructure, it's a little bit premature to say so. There are no such initiatives because we understand that anytime there might be another strike on those infrastructure facilities in all the communities where it's needed. There are funds allocated to support people in all those communities to repair the buildings, like to repair the windows, roofs, and stuff like that. But talking about the construction of new buildings, no such works are underway due to the security situation. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Do we have any questions on the floor? Good afternoon. You've written a letter to the parliament to amend the legislation with regard to the possibility of having deputy sessions online. So when was the last session of the regional council? What is the communication with the condition of communication with the people's deputies? The deputies of which parties help you mostly in your work, and what deputies from the beginning of the war have lost connection to the region at all? Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for reading my Telegram channel, because this is very positive information about that. So the last session that we had was in the end of July, before August, just after the post-COVID decree lost its effect. It gave the opportunity to all the community councils to have their meetings in Zoom. Well, we could have those meetings in accordance with the legislation, but in some regions those decrees are being disputed in courts because they are not contemplated by the law and local governance without the effect of this COVID decree. So without that procedure. We have together all the deputies who represent the people, and the deputies represent the people, and obviously the reports of all those deputies can be heard by the head of national police in the region, the military governor, and all of the top-level government officials who represent the region. So after that catastrophe that happened recently, I was only asking about one single amendment to allow within that legislation, within the law on the local governments, to be able to have the meetings of the local governments in Zoom, specifically when we talk about the areas closer to the front lines. So we all have experience of having sessions in Zoom during quarantine, and since those amendments were not adopted so far, we had our session held live, and we allocated some funds for our security and defense forces, and during the area dollars we had to go to this shelter. Talking about the deputy corps here, we have 120 deputies represented by 7 political parties, almost all of the parliamentary parties, and I can say that about 3 to 5 people, now let's not call their names, so 3 to 5 people did not get connected via Zoom. We know that they left abroad during the war, but generally all the deputies corps, starting from the 24th of February, works to the full extent. Well, from the beginning of the February, actually, before the beginning of the full-scale invasion, on the 16th of February, we adopted the program of development of territorial defense forces. So we work at the joint powerful mechanism. Everybody is present. The deputy corps is present. The deputies do their job. People keep coming to us, and we're one of the not so numerous regional councils. We allocated the subsidy for the people's deputies in amount of 750,000 hryvnias, so they fulfill their obligations in front of their voters. So in this case, I can say that we keep working as one powerful team, military administration, deputies. We take all reasonable steps for the victory to come sooner. And just to wrap it up, to support the defense forces, we allocated about 1.3 billion hryvnias and last year, and in this year about 780 millions. But that's just for understanding of what the regional council is doing. We have more questions on the floor.
Serbian national TV from Belgrade. I have one question. Коли Никополjem и Марганец отримають питну воду?
When will Nikopol and Marganets get potable water? They have some problems with potable water over there. If we can repeat the question, when? So the question is when Marganets and Nikopol are getting potable water. So for understanding of our colleague from Serbia, in Nikopol district, before the war, there were 280 people residing there, and now there are approximately 40,000 internally displaced persons, regardless the shellings. And after the act of terrorism that Russian committed in the Kakhovka Dam, the water was gone not only from Marganets and Nikopol, but also from Pokrov, and in fact from all the communities. It's also gone from Kryvyi district with a population of about 900,000 people. So reconstruction works are in progress, the waterways are being built, and we understand that by the end of October the water supply issue will be solved for Marganets and Nikopol. Now there are funds allocated in amount of 170 million hryvnias from the regional budget, thanks to which allocation the military administration takes all reasonable steps to supply people with water, so people have water. On top of that, there is the support coming from our international partners, and I'm confident we will overcome this terrible tragedy and people will be with water by the end of October. Thank you very much, Mr. Mykola. And just one last question on the topic which is of concern to the residents of the region. What's going on with the economy? What's going on with the businesses? How has the situation changed? Are the businesses coming back to the region? Are they satisfying the needs of the region generally? Well, we're watching a tendency now. About 750 businesses were allocated to our region. A large number of companies moved to the west, to Lviv and the Carpattia regions, but over there they don't have the main thing. They don't have the people capable of working with the equipment. So now a lot of people are coming back to Dnipropetrovsk region regardless of the missile strikes, regardless of the power shutdowns and the air raid alerts. There are people capable of working on different types of equipment, and business keeps working even under those super difficult conditions. Everybody is preparing to a difficult winter, and if there will be blackouts, it will influence significantly on payment of taxes. But regardless of all that, I will give you an example of Nikopol. I'm not saying that there are 40,000 people living in Nikopol district just for nothing. People believe in the armed forces, in our victory. They believe in our businesses who, regardless of all those difficult conditions, continue working and paying salaries to our people. Maybe in some places it's not so big, but it's stable. And talking about the budget in general, we see quite a big fall of budget proceeds, which is due to the Russian aggression. We will prepare the budget for the next year, but it will happen later, and this is when I will be able to give you the more precise figures. Thank you very much, Mr. Mykola. Dear colleagues, I'm reminding you, joining us was Mykola Lukashuk, head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council. Our next briefing will be at 15 o'clock, and we will be talking about the admission campaign in 2024. Joining us in this studio will be Oksana Lysovy, Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, Serhiy Babak, Chair of Verkhovna Rada Education, Science and Innovations Committee, Mikhailo Vinnytsky, Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, and Tatiana Vakulenko, Director of the Ukrainian Center for Education Quality Assessments. So bear with us, stay tuned, and we want to thank our security and defense forces and continue working for the sake of our victory. Glory to Ukraine.